Welcome back to Power Breakfast. This morning, we have a special guest. You have seen him in the courts, you have seen him in the police stations, and you've seen him on the streets. He is Okiya Omtatah, a one-man army in defense of human rights and promotion of good governance. So just exactly what makes Okiya Omtatah tick? This morning, we want to find out. Karibu bro. Let's make it very informal.
I'm a very informal guy.
We just want to find out who Okiya Omtatah is. Maybe for people who don't know you, who wonder, do you have a family?
Yeah.
Do you go to school?
Yeah.
And how do you make it against all the odds that you face every day? Let's start. Who is Okiya Omtatah?
Well, Okiya Omtatah Okoit is a citizen of Kenya, number 824570, according to the register of IDs. So I have got an address. I belong to this country. I'm an alien elsewhere on the globe except in Kenya. And that's why I value Kenya. And I think we've got a great country, I've got a great people. And we have a few challenges upon which we are all called upon to struggle against. When I listen to my national anthem, it's a very, very, very Republican statement. It even allows me to raise a militia to defend this country. So that is what inspires me. It is in the Constitution.
Did you go to school?
Yeah, I did. I think I went to schools, not to school.
Mm-hmm.
The first school was in my own family, my grandfather, my father. Then I went through the formal schools. And I've also gone through the school of life on the street, whereby I began realizing my own limitations. For example, in 1994, I wrote a play called Chains of Junkdom, where I was doing a very, very experimental thing, saying, let me blow up the calendar, blow up time, let me live in a situation where there's no restriction by time, no restriction by space, things merging. And I was working on that play, and we were doing it with Dr. Lembi at the National Theatre, and we were stuck somewhere, how to get one scene moving. And after laboring for days, the sweeper at the National Theatre, I think it was called Kinuthia, called me and said, why don't you try doing ABCD? And when we did it, it worked. Now this somebody was a sweeper in the National Theatre. Here was a doctor of literature called Dr. Lembi, professor at Kenyatta, the late Dr. Lembi. We could not fix it. Here I was the playwright. I was stuck. But who got me moving? It's an ordinary human being. And these are the kind of schools that I value, which make me realize my own nothingness, so that I am able to understand that I am only as great as the many allies I can get on board, as the many people there in Kenya. We are 40 million Kenyans today, and I'm as powerful as 40 million people.
Let's look at the formal.
You speak like a philosopher.
Let's look, okay, we'll get there. Let's look at your formal education.
Yeah.
People who don't know you. Where did you go to school? Some of your peers, alumni.
I went to primary school in the village. My village is in Busia. It's called Kwangamor. It is in Amkura division in Teso South District, Busia County. And after that, I briefly went to St. Peter's Seminary. I went to St. Paul's Amkura for Form 1. When I was in Form 2, I met a Catholic priest called Father Romano Orta, who convinced me that I would get a better education if I joined the seminary. So I joined the St. Peter's Seminary in Mukumu in Form 3. Performed well. I was a good student. I was called Kegumo High School. But I opted to go to Tindinyo College in Kapsabet, in Nandi, Tindinya College was an A-level institution run by Catholic priests, Severian Brothers and Mill Hill missionaries. And in St. Peter's, my rector, the head teacher, was the current bishop of Kericho. The bishop of Nakuru, the new bishop of Nakuru, was a class behind me or two when we were in school. And then I proceeded to the philosophy center. I opted not to go to the university. I passed well. I was top student in class. I was called to the University of Nairobi. But I opted out. I decided to go and study philosophy at the St. Augustine's Philosophicum in Mabanga, where I studied. And then my studies were cut short when I got a life-threatening accident, which required me to discontinue and get treatment. After when I finished that, I came out. During my recovery period, I was advised to take on little light duties, and so I went and studied engineering at the Kenya Polytechnic. When I finished and I completed engineering, I realized all that I had learned could not be applied. So I began losing interest in engineering, and I went back to the arts. Well, initially before that, during my A-level, I wrote my first book called Luanda Magere, which ended up being published and is doing well. So I began pursuing the arts. And then I also began getting involved in activism. And of course, having been in a seminary, among the values that was instilled in me was to stand up and be a witness for Christ. As it is given in the book of Acts, I think it's chapter 1, verse 8, where it says, "Be my witnesses, you are the salt of the earth, you are the good Samaritan, the kingdom of God is upon you." So with that kind of foundation, I began questioning things. And when I look back in my reports, my school reports, I noticed the teachers commented that I used to stand out in terms of challenging issues. And of course, in the seminary, one thing that was instilled in us was to make a distinction between fear and respect. Confront any authority, don't fear any authority, but respect everybody. So to me, the biggest liberation I got in my life was to be able to make the distinction between what fear is and what respect is. So I confront everybody, but I respect everybody.
So after the engineering, you abandoned engineering, went into the creative arts, and
yeah, and then of course
that was the end of your formal class education.
No. I'm still doing. I'm doing a master's in African Development Studies at Catholic University, Tangaza College. I've finished the classwork. I'm supposed to finalize my project. Maybe I should graduate in the next few months. And on top of that, and that's an interesting area because it has opened a lot of me to a lot of things in terms of I'm able to understand what witchcraft is. I'm able to understand
okay,
all those kind of things.
Right. So somebody would, that's trying to get the insights into the person behind Okiya Omtatah, the activist.
Yeah.
You have a family?
I have a family, but I don't discuss it much.
Yes. I just wanted to confirm you have as we move to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they? How do they take what you do?
Well, I've never sat them down to do anything. Just the other time when I was arrested, my little boy told me, "Since you fought those policemen, nowadays I don't see them harassing people." He doesn't understand that there's a new constitution. He thinks I did it. So I think that I don't share much with them. Sometimes I surprise them, like when I locked up the police headquarters. Nobody knew I was going to do it, although I had planned it for some time. I never shared it because one of the things I believe in is strategy, and so.
Well, we'll get there. But who inspires you in your life, in your activism? Who is your mentor?
I think my biggest inspiration is Jesus Christ. This was one activist par excellence. He demanded change. He preached love. And he gave hope to all of us. He overcame death. And so when I look at Jesus Christ, what he achieved, even if you remove away the God side of Christ, which we believe that is divine, if you look at him as an aspect of literature, he was a very intelligent person, very practical person, not beholden to any prejudices and what have you. So my biggest inspiration is Christ and the teaching of Christ, and of course, having been raised up Catholic, we say that secundum mantem ecclesia, I put my mind second to the mind of the church. So and the Catholic Church is an apostolic church, is a church of martyrs, is a church of heroes, is a church of justice. Individuals may have failed it here and there, but if you look at the social doctrine of the Catholic Church, and if you look at all those things, so all these things come together and give me a foundation, and the gospel of Christ give me a foundation that within my own failings, within my own sinful life, I can be an instrument in the hands of God. And maybe if I can't change the world, create some doubt that things could be different.
Do you think people understand you?
Well, I don't know, but
in all that you do, because there are those who look at you and say, this guy is just a rabble-rouser, he's a troublemaker.
Yeah, you know, Jesus Christ was called a glutton. Jesus Christ said when John the Baptist came and he didn't eat, he didn't drink, you called him a madman. I've come, I'm eating and drinking with you, you are calling me a glutton. So if you wait for people to value you, it becomes extremely difficult. But the most important thing is that let us love everybody, even those whom we criticize.
Yeah.
Let us not seek to destroy them, but make them better. And that's why I will engage anybody, will find, but
yeah.
Even the policeman told me last time, they said, Omtata, one thing we have appreciated about you is that, and now we like you, that you have never thrown a stone.
Yes.
You have never hit a policeman. You have never resisted arrest. You have never insulted us. To a point whereby we end up feeling that you're really genuine in what you're doing.
Okay, when they arrest you, okay, fine,
Yeah.
Let's not even get there first. Somebody still asking questions in the public domain. Somebody says, so what do you do?
I'm a businessman.
What business do you do?
I do consultancies. I do farming. I used to have a fleet of tractors. I still plow for Nzoia Sugar Company. I do small things. And at the end of, and I also spend very little on myself. That's the secret. The other secret of
Yes.
making income is avoiding to spend.
Yes.
So the income you avoid to spend is income made. So I live a very simple life.
So the thing is, then you have enough income to be
Yeah.
able to dedicate your time to defense of public issues.
Yeah, I
and
spend
the
10%
country.
of my income to pay my rent on earth. That is defending public interest. That's how I pay my rent to the earth, to the globe.
Yeah.
And I spend at least about 1% of my time to do activism. And these many people believe I'm a civil society person, I'll be employed by civil society, whatever. And I always tell them I cannot speak for civil society because I don't know what goes into on in the organizations. But what we did is that we formed a small organization called Kenyans for Justice and Development. We have got 8 directors or 8 members. Each one pays 20,000 shillings every month. 20, that's 160,000 shillings. And that's the budget that runs for most of the activities I do. The other 8 have said we are people, some are civil servants. They say we shall contribute, but we can't, our faith can't be seen.
There are those who say that you are funded by foreigners to disrupt institutions, to cause chaos, that the critics, skeptics of civil society and activists believe that people do these things because they get remunerated, or they are trying to get money from foreigners or donors to do what they do.
You know, when I lost my 10 teeth, I had filed a case against what everybody is lamenting today, the way the elections were being organized, the systems that were being set up, and the procurement of the BVR. And I was called, I'll not name names, I was called by people who are somewhere very close to me, who came with a tribal card and said, look here, we can make money, this and that. And A week before I was attacked, some of these characters came and said, we withdraw this case, we give you this kind of money, your life will turn around. And I resisted because I felt the country was greater and there was a need to hold an election that was verifiable, an election that was not the kind of thing that we ended up with where you couldn't determine what exactly happened. So I was given a thrashing, and when they were beating me, they said I'm an idiot who can refuse money. When we were doing the referendum to the new constitution, I opposed it on grounds of some of the things you are complaining about. My organization was offered by a foreign donor, offered 8.7 million shillings to drop our position. We said no, we can't drop our position. We are going to go to the end and demand that the ills in this constitution, even the basic misconceptions, like you want a third women representation, and you are giving us a system that is first past the post, which will only produce men. Then you begin saying you are going to nominate and expand the parliament, is nonsense. Let us give, if you want a third women, let us do what those countries who have had a third women have done, and that's by party lists. Let us not imitate. Let us not go, like I visit your house, I find you have got a self-contained house, then I go and construct my own house, but I choose to put the toilet in the living room instead of in the corner where it's supposed to be. It's a question of design. So he said with this kind of glaring discontent in design, and maybe my engineering background was playing in that, let us get the design correct. You can make a very weak structure strong just by giving it an arch. So let us get the question of design correct. And the problem of the constitution now is a question of design. It was not properly designed. We had aspirations, we had ambitions,
yes,
but we failed to design a mechanism that could deliver those ambitions. And that's why I'm finding all these contradictions. Like we'll get the question of the county commissioners that everybody's fighting against. To me, when I read the constitution, the president is 100% right in what he has done, because when you look at the fourth schedule, the distribution of functions, it has distributed functions between the county government, yes, and the national government. Yes. When you go to Article 6, it says that the national government must be present on the ground.
Yes.
Now, how are these functions in the fourth schedule going to be delivered on the ground if the national government has no structures on the ground?
Right.
But if we wanted to find a system whereby the governor was going to run the county without the presence of then we should have designed that system.
Right.
So you find that we did not think, and there's a culture in this country whereby we choose to campaign for or against issues, not to debate them the way we are doing. And so when you don't debate an issue and you just join a campaign because Raila has said this, therefore we are doing this, Uhuru has said this, therefore we are doing this, and you don't campaign and get a position, then you find yourself in a very difficult place. So like the question of county governors, there's going to be a lot of fight and waste of resources, yet the constitution is extremely clear.
Yeah. Let's get on to the specifics. You use three systems of activism.
Yeah.
You go to court, litigation.
Yeah.
You do demonstrations, public picketing.
Yeah.
And you do campaign, what I would call representation.
Yeah.
You know, let's look at the cases. How many cases do you have in your docket you have filed as we speak now?
There are two types of cases. There are cases against me, and there are cases I've filed. Then there are also private cases I've filed for my own business, in my own business lines. So I'll not
Let's look at the public ones. The ones you filed in the public interest.
Right now I've got, I think 20 petitions, 21, and I've got 2 more, which I'm filing next week. Yesterday I filed one and I got temporary orders against Kemri. So, and these issues arise from
21 cases.
Yeah, they arise from what we read in the papers. We read a story, we do, and we have got a team that goes out, will investigate, will get the documentation. Even so, the other day when I was arrested, that I had the documents on the railway, which were not supposed to be, which we had filed in court, and were not, according to their estimation, I was not qualified to have had those documents. So, and this is because we've got a team, and we can reach any level of government and get what we want, be it State House, be it the Attorney General, be it OP, be it wherever.
How do you do that?
Citizens like you and me, who believe that this country must be changed.
Whistleblowers, you mean?
Whistleblowers, whatever you call them. The fact is that many Kenyans want to see a functioning state. You see, so when they see, and so I'm fortunate that people have some confidence in me. I will never reveal my sources. They have some confidence in me. So people will call you, stop you on the street and say, Omtata, can you look at this? Can you follow up on this? And they'll bring me the documentation. And even sometimes they surprise me.
When you say you have 20 petitions in court, in public issues, that's a very expensive affair. The kind of budget you run is not enough to run
I don't hire lawyers.
You don't?
I do my own lawyering.
But so you can't succeed, you are not a lawyer.
No, the case does not belong to a lawyer. A lawyer is a mercenary you hire to fight a war for you.
Yes.
The war is yours.
You can represent yourself.
And especially the new Mutunga rules.
Yes.
And I hope we get to a place like India whereby you can even write a letter to the court and the court frames the issues and they are decided. So that the issues of saying, come here, dropping Latin words there. Some of us can write a letter in Latin and we will find people who drop this, but you don't do that. We want to deal with the situation whereby the man, the ordinary man, what makes us equal? What makes me and you equal is what is important to me. What distinguishes me from you is useless to the world. So we look at, and if the law can become so simple that everybody who has an issue can walk to a court and be listened to without being asked to undergo through a lot of technicalities, it will be good. And I think the rules that the Chief Justice has given us, they are called the Mutunga rules that came out last year, make it very easy to approach a court. First of all, one of the biggest achievements of the new constitution was Articles 22 and 258, which removed the question of locus.
Yes.
That you can move a court on issues of rights and
even on behalf of others.
And on behalf of others, and not of you.
But also, it gives the constitution also gives you the right to be represented. If
but representation is an option. And there are many ways of getting legal services. You have got lawyers who are friends. You can call them and say, Makali, let us have a cup of tea. What do you say about this? And he will do that. So
that's fine. So you represent yourself. You file the cases. You prosecute them yourself. You don't use lawyers.
No.
So the cost.
Occasionally, lawyers offer pro bono.
Yes, yes.
The good thing, as I'm telling you, very many people want to win this war. There are cases where a lawyer will tell you that I would like to offer pro bono, but I think I also do business for government. So the best thing I can do is I can consult. You can consult me. In the background, and I help you this, and always two heads are better than one. And so we go to court, and at the end of the day, we are also hoping that we shall get an activist judiciary which might come up and seize issues like the Indian judiciary, which assists issues even by just getting a postcard that moved the court. The South African court is doing the same. Because what is happening is that there is supremacy of the Constitution, not of any institution. And the custodian of the Constitution is the court. So if the courts become too complex for ordinary people to do, then the Constitution is useless. And that's why we are hoping that things are going to happen. And I think also the Chief Justice will maybe push up this thing of moving judges around. Because one problem that we have now, before you go, one problem we have in the judiciary is that judges stay in stations for too long, and then networks, they get captured by certain networks.
Yes.
So if the Chief Justice can shift judges around, he will really help the country. I think a judge shouldn't serve more than 2 years in a station.
That's not disruptive of the
cases.
The cases and of the officers, the judges themselves.
No, there's need for disruption, because when water is not moving, it becomes a bit.
Because a lot of cases have been heard and concluded in 2 years, looking at the.
The issue is that we have nowadays, this country is very small, people can move around, and the judge can be given time so he can arrange his calendar. And we should also employ more judges, and that's why I think I would impeach the president to employ the judge, to employ those judges who have been cleared and are still pending. There are very many people waiting, because it's a really need for
more judges.
More judges.
Okay.
It's an urgent thing, and
so
if it can be done.
You finance these cases from contributions from people who support your causes and so forth. 21 of them you have filed. If you can just run through them without detail, because you don't have much time. There's one you filed on this and that. There's one you filed on this and that, like that.
There's let me pick down so they know, people maybe know. There's the one that we filed to restore 99. It has succeeded. 99 is back. The standards are not yet where we want, so we want to engage the police. Because one of the things that people miss is that a public interest litigation is really moving the court to help government. So in fact, I don't expect adversarial engagement that I at times get from the AG. I would like, when I file a petition, the DPP and the AG should join us and say, now really this is an issue. What are the issues?
Yeah.
Can we help you? So,
okay.
So we have got the 99, yes. We have got the one against the railways. We have got
the standard gauge railways. What is it? The substance, just in one line. Yeah.
The substance is that it's a corrupt deal.
What you are petitioning is what? What is it?
We are petitioning that the procurement laws be observed, and especially Chapter 12 of the Constitution, which requires that for a project of that size, it must first of all be factored in the budget. It must be approved in the budget. It must be factored into the consolidated fund, whether it's a loan or not. Then an appropriations bill must be there from Parliament for it to be withdraw that money for expenditure. And then number 5, the Parliament must also approve the increment in the national budget, the public debt.
Yes.
So all the Chapter 12 was ignored.
Okay.
And those are the procurement must be competitive. So those are the issues we have raised.
Yes.
That's next.
And then we have got, we have also filed a petition which we are waiting to hear about the Safaricom issues that we have just had that day. We filed that, and that petition is a continuation from an earlier one which we filed against the police procurement of some equipment from the Chinese, whereby equipment costing about 5 billion shillings was going to be supplied to us at a cost of 90 billion shillings, at a cost of 20 billion shillings, and then 90% of the project cost was to be paid when the container arrives in Mombasa before implementation. And this one's an interesting case because the people who brought the documents to us were very senior policemen.
Yes.
And
so
they were able to bring it to us, including a briefing of the president 2 days before the president himself received the briefing. And we filed it in court 2 days before the president got the briefing. So you can find that we are not...
What is the status of that case?
It was successful. The tender has been cancelled.
It was cancelled.
It was cancelled when we intervened and we got orders in court. The tender was cancelled. But that the tender is being reinvented. That's what you are seeing, like Safaricom now. It's the same issues, and we are trying to see what is the difference.
Okay.
So there are many cases of that nature. Maybe the list...
The Safaricom one is, what are the details of it? What are you petitioning?
It's a question of procurement.
Or the security.
The security.
Or this one of 15 billion.
CCTV.
You've gone to court on that as well.
We've gone to court on that one. And you are waiting to be allocated time to be heard.
Okay.
And we are seeing developments that are good in Parliament. We have seen the committee.
Yeah, saying it should not be signed.
Saying that the document should not be signed.
Yeah.
And so we hope that those kind of oversight mechanisms
will help. Okay, next we try to rush through
and
them.
Then what is the other case? So many. Of course, we've got the one in Hemedi where we are trying to say there was this guy who disappeared after being arrested
by police,
in Mombasa in police. And we're trying to say, hey, where is this guy? We have got a case against the BVR, the one where I lost my 10 teeth. It's still live. We are framing things. We have filed a cases on obeying court orders, because there's a culture that's emerging whereby some people think court orders are for lesser human beings.
Yes.
So we have sued we want the dismissal of the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate and the Speaker of the Embu County for having disobeyed court orders. We want them to be dismissed.
In the case of, in which case?
We have filed
different cases.
A different case were filed. Okay. So there are several of them of the different types.
Yeah.
Yesterday we filed a case against Kemri, and we got orders because they were trying to kick out a whistleblower. So we got orders for serving that guy's job, and our case is going to continue. So there are very, very many of them.
Okay.
But there are public interest. So you find that in Kakamega we have got 2 cases whereby they are building a sewage pond. There are sewage ponds being built right inside a residential area.
Yes.
And these people stole money. Instead of buying land with a buffer zone of 300 meters radius so as to protect the people, they only bought the site for the ponds and are putting a sewage treatment plant right inside the village. So we've got 2 cases there. In Busia, we've got the Kenya Sugar, the Busia Sugar Factory, where they're trying to steal the land. We have got a case in Bungoma, in Kakamega. We have got in Naivasha. They were stealing 10,000 acres of curry land. We went and nailed them in a case like that in Naivasha. So the cases are many, but they are largely public interest motions, which all of them looked at just one thing, the rule of law. They are not different. The issues are not different, just that we have got a culture of not obeying the law.
Right.
And what we are saying is that let the law rule and all of us will be free.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what motivates you to do all these things?
I've just said my background. I have my rosary here. I always pray. I have my rosary which I pray. The one you saw me with at the police headquarters is the same one when I have the police headquarters. So the thing that motivates me is this cross here.
Are you saved? In the sense of...
He's a Catholic.
Well, Catholics, we don't believe in being saved. We believe in being converted.
Oh, you're converted.
Yeah, I'm not saved, but I'm converted.
When you do all these things, and okay, fine. The one that you most graphic was the one you chained yourself for the police headquarters. You said you had been planning this for a long time.
Not for a long time, for 2 days.
For
because
2 days, okay.
Anyway, what happened is that as the issue was going on, somebody high up in the police, in the intelligence, not the police, called me and said, Omtata, there is a group being formed to go and cause a massacre. That's to intimidate people. There's going to be a massacre in Kisumu, there's going to be a massacre in Eldoret and in Kakamega. And if that happened, the guy who told me was Amkamba, and if that happened, the country can go to the dogs. So can you people do something to stop it? So what we did was we tried to get, everybody was scared, the media could not cover it and did whatever. So what I did was I thought I went to the Basilica and I prayed, then when I come out I had a formula to get a way to address the nation on the issue. So I took those papers, I wrote a statement. And I said the only way to market this is to get a place whereby it will not be possible for anybody to gag me. That's why I chose a very strong chain that could not be cut. Went and a padlock that could not be broken. It cost me 10,000. The chain was some 15 meters. So it cost me 10,000. The padlock was 2,700. The chain was 7,000. And the taxi was 300 shillings. So I got there and I locked it and I had my papers. By the time the media came there, the police had snatched me the papers. I was in but they had known that now this plan had leaked out. And were saying that there's no way you're going to massacre Kenyans over an issue that Kibaki and Raila can sit down and sort. And I'm happy that eventually they sat down and sorted it. So it was basically that. But you see, protest.
But you were beaten by police?
No.
Thoroughly?
I was not beaten. The police have never beaten me.
The police have not beaten you? But you have sustained injuries?
I had an accident. The street was, I was beaten. I don't think there were policemen who beat me. Those were crooks, whoever it was. They even poured a bucket full of feces on me when we were sitting outside Dongeri when demanding free primary education, me and many others. So personally, I've never been beaten
by police
or tortured by police. I'll be telling a lie. Because
the police
one of the things
what you do, they have no issue with what you do.
They respect what I do, and I also respect them and I understand that they are in that position out of employment, out of all this. We must have some people doing policing. So the war is not between me and police. Police are being abused. And in fact, the war we fight with the police is to liberate the police from the control of the executive. If you can have an independent police service. And that's why we are fighting the attempts to return the police to the office of the president. Let the police be able to procure their equipment. The police be able to control the command. The inspector general is totally responsible for what happens. The police, the day a policeman on the street can arrest the president of this country for not wearing a seat belt in the presidential limousine, that's the day the rule of law will have taken effect. So me, policemen perform a very important role. And when you are locked up, just simple, when you are locked up in the cells, they tell you to take off one shoe, remain with one shoe. So the reason they say that they remove one shoe so you can't escape with both. They see if you take off both the shoes, there are crooks in the cells who can steal them on their way out. So when they throw you in a cell, and they come and find you found asleep on the floor, they throw you in the cell. In the morning when they say, who are going to clean the toilets? You are first on the queue, you clean those toilets. When they bring that food, you're going to eat that food, you refuse food from out.
How many times have you been to a police cells?
I can't remember, but I know that I've been charged by this Republic versus me 28 times.
28?
I've been charged 28 times.
I've won 26, I'm remaining with 2. So I don't know how many times, but I know that in Nairobi I've slept in all police stations.
All
of them have been against them. If you go to the OBs, you'll find my name there.
So when they see you, they say, our guest has arrived.
And I'm in good terms. They salute me when I walk on the streets.
They know
I'm
you're
the only private citizen maybe who enjoys a police salute.
Now, how does your wife and children take this? May I ask that question again?
Yeah.
How, when you become a nuisance, which you are?
I'm not a nuisance.
But that's why you're in police stations all the time.
People think you're a
I'm
nuisance.
a prophet.
You're a nuisance.
I'm a prophet that the better Kenya is possible.
So anyway, when does your family take that?
First of all, I don't interfere. Then, of course, I've lost opportunities here and there. I don't, my kids have tried to keep them not very exposed.
Yeah.
And
but your wife is conscious about those things. When you're sleeping in cells, you're not sleeping at home.
Yeah, she is conscious of it, but I'm not also sleeping elsewhere. I'm sleeping in the cells. So which is not bad.
She knows she can find you in the cells. You're not at home.
I'm not at home.
All right, Omtatah, we're short of time. I mean, this conversation is a whole day. We would have loved to review all the cases and the experience in all of them, but we don't have enough time. But I'm just, let me get your perspectives on activism. I mean, you are a later-day activist. We never heard of you in the earlier days, what we call a second liberation. And now it seems that civil society activism has sort of gone through a transition, and people think it's mellow. Omtatah is the only one perhaps visible fighting a Lone Ranger war. What is the state of things?
I think they are that would not be an accurate statement, because I know that the civil society organizations are doing a lot of work in terms of policy, which may be very, very important for us in the long run, because like when people ask me what has civil society achieved, I tell them what civil society has achieved is to make Kenyans conscious of their rights to be able to demand this. When you hear people saying haki yetu, that is civil society speaking. And civil society is anything between the family and the state. Anything with outside the family and the state is civil society. Yeah. And we've got civil societies like KEPSA, which are trying to push for proper businesses. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that civil society is dead. Maybe with agitations of the street and whatever may have gone, because the constitution came in and it created a new dispensation, which we are trying to enjoy. As for not having been there in the earlier times, I was growing up.
Yes, you were in that schooling.
I was schooling, I was growing
various
up.
Schools of life.
Yeah, but what spurred me is Wangari Maathai, when she stood up for Uhuru Park.
Yes. And
she said no to one man. I think that success made me also crawl out of the woodwork, and I did my small one at the National Theatre.
Yes,
I don't know if you remember it.
Yes,
when I was locked up, I went on hunger strike, and the theatre stands today.
Yes.
It's a public thing. In honor of
the Norfolk Hotel.
Yeah, Norfolk Hotel was being grabbed. Today, that was 1994. In honor of Wangari Maathai, I wrote a play called Voice of the People. Yes. It's now a published book. It's a set book in some African countries, including Uganda. So I end up finding that the structure of protest is complex. It calls for a lot of rethink. Sometimes you have to play like the trickster. Okay. Whereby...
Yeah. Are you satisfied that the public is sufficiently active? I mean, don't you feel lonely sometimes that you're pushing an agenda, you're fighting a lonely battle, and the public you're fighting for never comes along because of apathy? Is that frustration?
Maybe there is that frustration, but there's consolation in the words of Christ. When he talked to the women of Jerusalem on the way of the cross, what did he say? Cry for yourselves, not for me.
Yes.
So when I see people I say them to cry for themselves. Me, I'm in a place whereby I believe the kingdom of God is upon me. I believe that I have a role to play. When you look at the Lord's Prayer, our Father who art in heaven, whatever, give us our daily bread. How have I helped the country get daily bread? I've fought corruption. Your kingdom come. Your will be done in heaven as it's done on earth. Heaven is the rule of law. We fight for the rule of law. So we get all these things coming up.
Going forward, what do we expect to see from you? I mean, you ran for Senate for Nairobi, an unsuccessful bid. Are you looking forward to doing this again?
Yeah.
Or what is the future to
there's a duty upon us. You know, like if you asked Christ, are you ready today to go before Pilate? I'm sure Christ would say, I'm ready, if there was need. So when you look at those crowds in Jerusalem, which said, give us Barabbas and crucify Christ, you should not feel sad when you lose an election. The important thing, like what you did in Bungoma, the duty you have as somebody, as a citizen and a leader, is to give the electorate an alternative. And your work ends there. Let them make the choice. So me, I believe that by participating in the elections in Nairobi, I gave the people of Nairobi a chance to elect a different way of doing things.
Yes.
They said, crucify him.
All right.
That should not make us sad. And so, when history is written,
yes,
the people cannot claim there were no leaders who could lead us to Canaan. The people will be ashamed and they will hate their chest and rend their heart saying, if only we had chosen the right leaders. So the duty we have, you, Mutegi, yourself, me, and everybody, is if you have a chance to offer an alternative, offer the people an alternative, and that your work ends there. If they choose you, if they don't choose you, it is their own decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'll be offering myself for elective posts anytime they appear.
Because we want to change the country.
I want to change the country. I want to give a platform. I want to have a new path.
Okay, I think we are coming to the end. I mean, this conversation is almost not even half done, but we don't have much time on our hands. I just want to read some of the feedback from you who have sent us SMSs on 22422. Interesting comments here. I'll just read them for your benefit. Good work, keep it up. That is Njeri from Garissa. What is your contact? The biggest of these messages, most of the messages are saying, give us Omtata's contact. You can see the thirst for people to sort out problems.
You can give them.
Please put Okia Omtatah's mobile number on the screen. Will you be able to manage the course? I want your permission first.
You know, they say that...
or do you have an institutional number where you can process this, or we give your number personal?
Yeah, I'll give them two.
What is your number? You give it yourself.
0722 684 777.
Yeah, repeat it for those who are taking down.
0722 684 777.
Okay.
Ama 0722 684 777. And I'm happy about the 777 because 7 is a religious number.
Yes.
You have got the 7 C's, you have got the 7 whatever.
7 times.
7 times 7 times 7.
Okay. So just more, Okiya Omtatah is a hero. Keep up. Congrats, Omtata. Can I get your contact? Of course, those are very many. Please SMS me Omtatah's number. Omtata, can you help the case of retired 1997 payment? There are those issues which I'll forward to you. And all these things. But there is one that somebody says, accuses you. I like you, Mr. Omtatah, but on many occasions you seem to be Raila's project. Why do you always fight the current government? If Raila won elections, would you still be fighting him or the government? That is just different.
Maybe I could answer that one.
Yes.
When the issue of the youth fund, Kikazo kwa vijana came up, who is the only person who stood up and told Raila to own up? I'm not a Raila stooge. Last time it was a question of who was the lesser evil. When I did my matrix, and I felt that the CORD was not a good, but was a lesser evil to Jubilee. That's why I think I tried to follow them. But when you look at it realistically, is that we do not have a government in this country, we do not have an opposition in this country, we have got politicians in power and politicians out of power.
Right.
So, and it's a very important issue in that the government of the day is the government to be scrutinized. Right now, what would I be condemning Raila for? Raila does not have anything to do. So I will see Uhuru, whom I will say, I will hold your feet to the fire. And where Uhuru does the right thing, I support him. I think when we opened, I just said that Uhuru, me, I'm on the side of Uhuru when it comes to county commissioners. Because that's what the Constitution says.
Yeah.
We may want the law to be different, then let us change the Constitution and get where we are, but we must obey the law as it is, whether we agree with it or disagree with it.
I think we have to end there, Okia. I want to thank you for coming. A lot of responses, people saying today I've understood Okia. For me and others, I think people wanted to see the man behind Okiya Omtatah and the different faces of Okiya Omtatah. And I think it's a clarion call that everybody must stand up for civil rights, for governance, for the rule of law. And a lot of young people today are not concerned about these things because they think those who fight are others. It's none of my business. So it was good. Maybe just your final word, then we close the show.
My final word is that next time I want to be invited to teach Kenyans how to say the rosary.
Not all Kenyans are Catholic.
Not all Kenyans are Catholic, but the rosary is it has got issues whereby you go through the life of Christ and you look at the life of this carpenter God, And you'll find that if we just listen to the Lord's Prayer and implement the Lord's Prayer as a template of our life, as a template of running a country, people will have their bread, we shall forgive each other, we shall obey the rule of law, and we shall have love in the country. So that template of the Lord's Prayer, that our Father, every time you pray that thing, that is the call of nationhood. That's the call that all of us in this country, and I even know Muslims recognize Christ. So the Lord's Prayer is available to all of us, and I would really say that we must internalize those words and implement them, and let us pray for our leaders, not just criticize them. I always pray for the president. I pray for the deputy president. Yes. I may be their biggest critic. Okay. But at the end of the day, when you lock up your door, these are human beings. They've got limitations. They've got challenges. Pray that God may uplift them and work through them to achieve good. It doesn't matter whether God does good through Raila or God does good through Uhuru. What's important is that these people perform good and this country moves ahead. We need to industrialize this country. Okay. We need to imitate the West. We need to give our young people jobs and hope. So we don't have time to waste politicking. Let us obey the law. It's there. And let us move the country forward. Let us think and industrialize this country.
What is, if happened by chance, somebody said, we want to give you a job, what job would you ask to be given in this country and government right now?
Anti-corruption. Give me to fight corruption, and I will run it out of this country.
The president has heard you. Thank you very much for watching. See you tomorrow. Monday for another interview on issues that drive the nation.